This video is for folks involved in the environmental group Oregon Wild,
including employees, senior management, directors, and donors.
We're here to talk about an issue in Bend, a proposed bicycle and pedestrian bridge over the Deschutes River that would connect southern neighborhoods to the Deschutes National Forest. But before we get into details, here's a quick rendering.
Connect Bend advocates for this project,
which is active again as Bend Parks and Rec is studying potential locations for the Footbridge.
Your Central Oregon field office has weighed in on this issue for years.
And we're concerned they may be doing so without input from the full Oregon Wild community, including your current leadership and board of directors.
As of April 2026, your field office has never walked back or modulated any of the statements we're about to review. This is the record. Since the 1990s, planners have envisioned a footbridge, one like 9 others in Bend, that would enable completion of a Deschutes River Trail from Tumalo State Park to Sun River.
The idea appears in these planning documents.
In 2012, Bend voters approved a bond measure to fund several projects, including completion of the trail. The footbridge was referenced in the voter pamphlet.
Planning continued until 2017 when opponents in the Bachelor View Road private community worked with a state representative outside of Bend on House Bill 2027, which would have banned the project.
The Bend Bulletin reported that this campaign used a gut-and-stuff legislative maneuver to bypass debate in the Oregon House. The Bulletin also reported the creation of a fake environmental group to simulate opposition to the bridge. The bill did not pass.
In 2018, Oregon Wild seems to have worked closely with many of these same opponents on House Bill 4029. This bill also would have banned the project, but never made it to the floor for a vote.
During these campaigns and ever since, your Central Oregon field office has actively weighed in against the footbridge.
Let's look at how they've done so.
From the beginning, your field office has characterized areas surrounding the proposed footbridge site as unusually rich with wildlife activities.
For example, quote, "The stretch of Deschutes River under consideration in HB 4029 is one of those unique places with high wildlife values," end quote.
Often your field office calls for trails to be routed around this, quote, sensitive area. We'll display statements here and you can pause if you want to read them.
At other times, your office names species that it claims thrive in the area.
Specifically, spotted frog, golden eagles, elk, and more.
The last proposed footbridge site is near a privately owned lot that is currently designated green space.
So this area is scenic, but does that make it wild? Let's take a look.
The immediate environs also include 5 communities, a golf course, and a destination resort. Here are shots from within a half mile.
Your field office has never presented evidence that this area has special characteristics distinguishing it from the rest of the Upper Deschutes.
Nor has it presented evidence regarding specific species.
And what evidence we do have generally points the other way.
A U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service email says that this area is not critical habitat for spotted frogs.
A prominent Bend birding expert says that impact on golden eagles is highly unlikely.
Deschutes County designates hundreds of thousands of acres as sensitive bird habitat or elk habitat, but this area isn't included.
Before any project moves ahead, a NEPA study would thoroughly evaluate the footbridge site and surrounding areas.
If issues are present, we say solve them or don't move ahead.
But evidence should drive our discussion about this area, not unsubstantiated claims. Unfortunately, your Central Oregon field office also does not merely make claims that lack evidence, but are objectively untrue.
In various public statements, your field office has claimed that executing this project will somehow undo, strip, or degrade scenic protections, not just here in Oregon, but throughout the country.
The proposed bridge development would require weakening or undoing the above-mentioned public lands protections. Losing protections for public lands, whether national monuments or state scenic waterways, is a red flag concern for conservation organizations.
Claims that the footbridge will change or undo scenic protection laws are false.
The last proposed site of the footbridge does fall within the state and federal scenic zones.
But that project would have worked within decades-old law regulating development in these areas.
You cannot change or undo a law if you are following it as passed.
In a moment, we'll back that up with statements from recognized experts.
But first, let's walk through some issues that can seem complex.
The last proposed footbridge site is here. Federal and state protections apply here, and state protections apply here. Since its passage, a core feature of the State Scenic Waterway Act is a one-year review process.
In this process, landowners wanting to build within a zone send notification to Oregon Parks and Recreation, the agency that oversees this law. If Oregon Parks and Rec cannot immediately approve of the project, a year-long review begins, as both sides consider adjustments.
At the end of the year, two things can happen. The state can buy the land, or the project may move ahead.
So this law is not restrictive. There has been much development here, including a major artery. Looking at the zone from Widgie Creek to its northern boundary, we find well over 200 homes.
The footbridge would follow the same requirements as everything else here.
At this point, Oregon Wild's field office would point to a state rule saying new bridges are not permitted in this particular area.
Let's look at that, too.
In 1996, the Deschutes National Forest led the creation of a comprehensive management plan with this title, and a panel provided this clause stating that new bridges cannot be built in this area. That made the final draft.
Then the plan's components were transcribed into rules by Oregon Parks and Rec. Here's the rule that resulted from that original clause.
However, this rule does not prohibit a footbridge. According to the State Scenic Waterways Act, rules derived from the management plan cannot halt the project as long as it successfully passes through the one-year review process we just described. That's simply how this law works.
To review, the one-year process is perhaps the central feature of this act. A project that goes through it may move ahead, no matter what specific rules may say. That's how it's been since 1970.
And hey, there's a lot one could discuss here. Why are scenic laws set up in this way?
And the Forest Service plan that created this whole situation, why wasn't that updated 20 years ago as required?
We can discuss all that, but one thing is clear. This project will work within the existing law.
And no one is changing or undoing anything.
Claims to the contrary are absolutely deceptive.
Ultimately, your field office has never provided third-party experts that support its unique view of scenic law.
We have. We encourage you to read this letter by the Oregon Parks and Recreation Department outlining the process we have discussed.
And we urge you to watch this BPRD comment from Bob Radcliffe, a former division lead for the National Park Service. He wrote much of the guidance professionals use to properly manage wild and scenic rivers. Here's just one quote.
I understand the concerns of Oregon Wild and others about precedent in the Wild and Scenic Rivers Act. And I'm here to tell you, this bridge does not set a precedent for the upper Deschutes or any other wild and scenic river.
Lastly, your field office is promoting an alternative solution that, environmentally speaking, is a net negative.
We're talking about something like this.
Your field office has praised City Transportation System Plan Proposal C4, which contemplates a vehicular bridge upstream from the proposed site somewhere between Powers and Murphy Road. Your field office promotes this plan as a, quote, compromise alternative.
We encourage you to explore other downstream compromise options.
This proposal does not talk about an alternative site that potentially includes vehicles, as your website incorrectly claims. No, it talks about a vehicular bridge that could run through places just like these.
There are downsides here. A vehicular bridge would disfigure the canyon, create noise pollution, and, above all, increase traffic and emissions.
A footbridge, however, would reduce traffic and it would also have an impact on CO2. If we could reroute just 100 cars per week, that would be like 28 acres of forest doing their job to remove carbon from the atmosphere.
Nevertheless, your field office reaffirmed support for a vehicular solution in the Bend Bulletin as recently as November 2025.
The Wilderness Program Director for Oregon Wild says the location of a potential bridge in Southwest Bend doesn't raise any big red flags from an environmental standpoint, beyond the footprint of the bridge. The zone the city is going to look at is outside the protected stretch of the Deschutes State Scenic Waterway, which reduces the environmental impacts substantially.
This raises no red flags
And a vehicle bridge reduces environmental impacts compared to a footbridge?
We ask the entire Oregon Wild community to take a holistic view of Bend's development and needs.
Then please tell us, do you actually support a vehicular solution to our climate goals and transportation needs?
We have one final issue to note. There's a local perception that your field office's positions are driven by relationships with donors active in the 2017 and 2018 ban attempts, and who live in waterside homes in private communities near the proposed Footbridge site.
Notably, these private communities fall entirely or almost entirely within the state scenic protected zone.
So we encourage Oregon Wild to clear the air. Please reveal all donor relationships related to the Footbridge issue. This is information the public deserves to have.
We wanted to share our concerns, and we get it. It may be hard to hear.
We hope you won't shoot the messenger.
Because most of this happened a while ago.
We have no reason to believe that Oregon Wild's current executive director or board of directors were heavily involved in this issue in the past. But you can change course moving forward.